Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another awesome episode of Live with CMI. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are back. It's our first episode back since Content Marketing World, and I'm, as always, joined by my colleague, JK. JK, have you recovered yet?
Oh, I've recovered, but I have the blues. I miss everybody so much. That was such a great time. And I'm still, I still am loving going to LinkedIn and seeing people are still posting photos and still talking about the event. And I just love it. I'm reliving it every day when I, pop through my socials. So,
Yes,
but I'm
and
a little sad.
that video was a good reminder of all the fun we had at Content Marketing World. So we will have more on that a little bit later. But first, today we're going to be talking about our brand new B2B content marketing research with our very own Robert Rose today. So we have so much coming up on that, and hopefully it will help you prepare for 2026. Robert is great as always. But before we get to all of that, we want you to know that this live stream, as always, is brought to you by the Content Marketing Institute. And if you don't know by now, we are the leading training and education organization for, you guessed it, all things content and marketing. So you can head over to contentmarketinginstitute.com for all kinds of great resources, including the research that we are going to be talking about with Robert today. And as always, as you join us, let's see, give us a virtual wave. Andy's already here from Indiana saying hello. Lisa
Hey,
from
Andy.
Cleveland. So let us know, say hello, and let us know where you're joining us from. We love to see where everyone is. And of course, as we go along today, if you have a question for Robert or a comment, drop it into the comment section and I will try to get to it as best I can as we go along. It always makes for a more engaging live stream, of course, when we hear from all of you. So we're excited to get started.
Absolutely.
Let me pull it up here today. So here at CMI, we just released our 16th year of our B2B content marketing research. And this year we took a little bit of a risk and we changed our approach to the research. Instead of slicing marketers by budgets or reporting lines, we segmented them by how well they're aligning to the trends shaping the next few years. So, and we had an overall sort of headline or top line to the research, right, JK?
Oh, we sure did. Like teams winning in 2026 aren't playing with prompts, churning out more content, or managing the algorithms to the algorithm. They're building stronger muscles in marketing fundamentals and letting AI breathe more creative life into those efforts. And just going through the research, it was so prevalent. I'm excited to talk to Robert about this because this is like the hot topic right now, of course.
And we had 9 key takeaways. And of course, we don't have time to get to all 9 of them today, but we will try hard to touch on a lot of different topics. So let's bring in our own Robert Rose here, the Chief Strategy Advisor of the Content Marketing Institute. And he's one of the folks who really got his hands dirty with all of this research. Welcome, Robert.
That's a great way to put it, too. Hands dirty. I am very glad to be back. It's lovely to see both of you.
Yes. And let's start with this. Why do we make these, why did we decide to make the changes to this research this year?
Because it's like something interesting to talk about. I mean, in all seriousness, no, it's because, what we noticed was, so content marketing as a practice is very mature, right? At this point, right? As you said, we're 16 years into the research and it's a well understood practice. And what we've noticed over the last 5, 6, 7 years is that as a mature practice, things change, things go up, things come down a little bit, but there's nothing really identifying where the disruptive practices or the pace setters, as we ended up calling them in this research, really are making waves. And what we wanted to do was really look at all of the disruptions, yes, AI, but even things like account-based marketing and personalization and first-party data and a lot of the things that are sort of fundamentals now in the background, but they're also causing big disruptions, and find out what's really working, like what's really working in B2B marketing. So that was really the idea, to sort of turn the ship upside down, so to speak, and say, and really see what's making marketing float.
Yeah, and it's I know that we're a little biased, but it was a really, really well done report. So people can check it out over at contentmarketinginstitute.com. But let's dive into it here. So as our research showed, marketers plan to invest heavily in AI tools. So that was like 45%.
Shocker.
And I don't know why this surprised me, but like only 9% we're going to invest in staff development, even though many credit their teams and their team skills for their success. So, what should marketers understand about this disconnect that we're seeing between investing in the tools versus investing in our talent?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. There's two things at play here. One is somebody pointed out in a comment on LinkedIn, and there may be something to this, although it might be a bit cynical, to say that, ask a bunch of marketers what the best thing is happening in their strategy is going to be. And of course they're going to say themselves, right? So take that with a grain of salt in terms of, but the other things that really scored high were a shift in strategy, right? A shift and having an actual strategy sort of was coupled with this idea of the people behind things really making the needle move in the last year. And so then you come back to, okay, well, what's your priority in investment? And I think this speaks to the pressure that we're seeing right now at the top for efficiency. And this is especially true in the world of AI. Invest in AI, get more efficient. That seems to be the narrative running today in most B2B organizations, which is, how do we do more with less? Well, we do more with less by letting AI do the more while we let people do less. And in many ways, and perhaps also a bit too cynical, what we see is B2B organizations sort of transforming marketing humans into glorified spell checkers, AI spell checkers, right? We're there to be the human in the loop and sort of make sure that AI is doing the right thing instead of the other way around. And it's a fascinating time for sure. It's dispiriting to see that the budget priorities are, and when we say human resources, by the way, is the last one, it doesn't mean just new headcount. It also means training and development, et cetera. But I do believe that this is the opportunity, as I point out in the report. This is the opportunity that B2B marketers have right now, which is to sort of zag while everybody else is zigging, which is double down on team skills, human skills, new development of talent. And that will ultimately be the long-term value play here, where everybody else is relying on efficiency and technology and more button pushers.
And if you haven't heard Robert talking about it, he's been leaning hard into that, which is super important.
For sure. Well, Robert, just going off of what you said, 95% of B2B marketers use AI mostly to crank out content, but 12% say quality has declined. How can teams move beyond chasing shiny tech and actually use AI to improve the results?
Yeah, well, they can flip that switch, right? Which is, and we saw that, and this was, I don't know, unsurprising for sure as a result, but perhaps, again, inspiring for a way to sort of take a different approach, which is where we're seeing the pace setters really, sort of lead the way, if you will, is in this idea of using AI as, thought partner to test ideas, to actually slow down the iterative, creative process and ultimately get to a better result. And so it's so funny to me. AI is the perfect, it's a literal invitation for us to slow down and get better at our work. But we're not listening. Most businesses and marketing teams are not listening. What they're doing is, it's an invitation to go even faster, to go even, to iterate quicker, to be more efficient and crank out more drafts and crank out more content to somehow get beyond the average of and the mediocre. And so that's the way to actually differentiate today, is to say, how can we use AI? Because yes, it can help us express ideas even faster. But how do we start to use AI to pressure test the things that we are humanly creating and ultimately get us to deeper, more valuable work? I mean, one of my favorite quotes that I've been quoting so often these days comes from Rick Rubin, of course, the music producer and the writer of an amazing book on creativity. And what he says is like, when you're creating a thing, We know when it has 5 mistakes, it's probably not ready to ship. But when it has 8 mistakes, it might be. And that's the human thumbprint that we can start to put on content and the creativity that we're doing. And AI can help us get there, but it's about slowing down and being more differentiating and more human in our work rather than the former.
Right. I mean, just a little bit adding on to what you're saying, you and I have had personal conversations where you have talked to me like your process in how you use AI to deepen your thought. Like you have AI your AI interview you about a topic, so you can really get yourself. It helps you to provoke a little bit more thought on a topic, like we were talking about blogs or whatever, or maybe an article or something that you wanted to write, and you feed your AI that you've created. Correct me if I'm wrong, like some of the questions that you think it should ask you, and then you have your AI interview you, where it makes you think a little bit more instead of just sitting down and, firing away your thoughts.
Exactly. It's the what AI is really good, as I've said many times, it's too bumper stickery, but I've said it many times before. Creating content is the least interesting thing that AI does.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I look at it as what the thing that it does the best, which is identify patterns which are hard for humans to find. And so having it look at a set of data, or having it look at a big book or an article or patterns on searching the internet, and coming back and asking questions of me, make me wrestle with it harder, make me wrestle with the idea and interview me. And so what I have it do is basically, whether it's an article or a book or an idea or whatever, go out there, identify all the patterns, the zeitgeist, what's happening, what's being talked about, what's not being talked about, what's being searched for, all those things, and ask me what I think about all those things so that I have to answer those things. That becomes, for me, a much more interesting outline for something that I might want to create, which is getting me to deeper work. I've said it before, my average time to write my weekly article used to be a couple to 3 hours. And now it's probably double that, but I'm getting, hopefully, I mean, the audience will be the ultimate judge of that. I'm getting at least to work that I'm much more proud of, because I'm actually taking that time to use the tool to make me better.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think most people are using it like that, right? like most, I think, are probably just trying to check a box and get through their day and do their, and
it's the pressure though, it's the pressure that they're feeling right now, because the narrative from senior leadership in most organizations is, here's a magic wand that you can just create, good enough content to ship. Right. And so that's the windmill we have to tilt at. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Andy says AI can improve our strategies, but most people are using it to replace what we're already doing instead of enhancing our work, which is exactly what Robert was talking about. So AI was definitely prevalent in the report, but there was some other stuff we talked about as well. We have here strategy. We talked a lot about this. So this year, 61% of marketers say their content strategy became more effective, largely thanks to strategy refinement, not just new technology, though that was a big part of it. So how often, Robert, should marketers revisit their strategy, and how can they tell when it's time to make those little refinements or those little changes?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is really, there's no pat answer. There's no templated answer here, but it's really, iterative based on what it is you do, your team, your context of your business, what economic environments you find yourself in. All those things feed into how often. The easiest way to say it is that what I'm noticing in the clients that I'm working with are those that are really, again, setting that pace. And this was, by the way, one of the more heartening results that I saw, which was for years, what we saw was the biggest challenge was actually developing a content strategy, or having a content strategy, and actually seeing that as not by a little bit, but by a lot. The strategy refinement was there, is basically businesses and marketing teams finally going, okay, let's get real about this. Let's figure out what the iterative process here is. And that's the key, is that it isn't, strategy is a process. It's not a project. And so keeping it iterative and keeping the small, doing things in a small incremental way, and constantly, sort of looking at it, refining it, looking at it, refining it, looking at it, course correction, right? All of those things are super important. And then once a quarter, twice a year, once a year, doing major sort of, deep dive, surgical precision sort of into where you want to change directions or pivot or, whatever it is. All of those are sort of part of an ongoing strategy, but it requires that there be bandwidth and time for that, right? I still hear companies and, people like that are, going for jobs in social media content or marketing content or even marketing director jobs where they're going into interviews and they're saying, your job as a marketing director or your job as a social media manager is to produce more and more content across our channels and get distribution going and go all those things. And when they say, well, what I want to do is set us up with a strategy, the leadership saying, we don't have time for that. We just have to react. We have to react. And it's like, that's just a recipe for ultimate failure. And so requisite in the sort of strategy refinement is that we constantly make that time to allot for that strategy refinement, sitting down with the team, collaborating, getting cross-functional groups together, all those things, and making the space for it, making an actual, mental, energetic, and physical space for it.
Yeah, I guess I should have led with that. We were very happy for the first time we could say people have a content strategy or they're reporting having a content strategy, because every year it's like they don't have a content strategy. They haven't written it down.
Right.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I was very happy to see that.
Seriously. Well, okay, let's shift just a little bit, Robert. Let's talk about personalization.
Sure.
We talked a little bit about it in the report this year. So most marketers say 89% of them say they personalize content, but nearly half of them, 60%, do it only for one or two channels. Like, why do so many fall short on personalization, and why, like, what do you have to do to get it truly right?
Yeah. It's, it's still the case that personalization is the sexiest thing that nobody does. And so, and we've been talking about it for 25 years. We've been talking about it since the early 2000s, right? Yep. About personalization and how it was going to change the nature of marketing. We were finally going to be able to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time. And, jazz hands, we did it all. And what has happened is that new to automation, certainly AI is a big driver of this, has started to make targeted content, right? That which is targeted, not necessarily personalized, but targeted in a way that changes the nature of the content to feed off of what the intent might be of that personal. So it may be that we're finally getting there with a technology that can help us do that through the use of AI. Most of it, that 89%, that's really just sort of people going, yeah, they're doing the Mad Libs sort of personalization. Hello, JK. I see that you saw this content on this day. Can we offer you this offer because you like this, and it's basically fill in the blanks with personalization on your email or perhaps on your e-commerce journey. And that's kind of the only things that we're doing at the moment, because that's what we have the sort of headspace and bandwidth to be able to do. Now that AI is coming into it, you're starting to see more and more organizations begin to truly realize that the targeting of content may not have anything to do with fill in the blank of personally identifiable information. In other words, knowing my name, knowing my email address, knowing my, the last product that I purchased is kind of irrelevant. What's really relevant is understanding my intent in that moment and the context, and being able to serve up the right content to me when in that intent moment. And we may be starting to get there, but I would say it's still very early days for most.
So how do they start working on that?
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to know how to tackle, because you ultimately sort of wind up, and this is especially true in B2B, where, B2B classically much fewer, customers, much fewer transactions, much fewer levels of data to be able to use to target content. So statistical relevance is a very hard thing to get over, because, you're dealing with long sales cycles that are measured in dozens and hundreds, not millions, right? Like B2C transactions are. And so it can be very difficult to get enough data to do that. Then more importantly, and this is challenging because that data tends to be siloed into sales, CRM systems, digital asset management systems, content management systems, analytic systems are all sort of islanded from one another. Pulling all that together in a meaningful way to do that in real time is just a big job. It's a big job. And, and I hate this term, but it's an appropriate one here. It's like businesses are rightly going, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is doing a project of that size worth what we're going to get out of it? And the answer is, I don't know. And so it just becomes easier to go, okay, well, then let's just do more ads.
Yeah.
Igor says, hello, Igor. AI has helped us achieve true personalization. Every prospect now receives content specifically irrelevant.
Igor, I love it. I love that. That is so, and it's so true. It's so true. It's perfect. Igor, always with the great way to phrase things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh.
Well, let's tackle another topic here. We also asked about thought leadership and found that nearly every B2B marketer, they have a program for thought leadership. Yet in most companies, fewer than 5% of employees contribute. So how can brands sort of build their thought leadership programs so they can be like a real differentiator in the business?
The irony of this one was so delicious, I have to say, which is we know this is a challenge, right? We're learning this. We're hearing about zero click every day. We're hearing about thought leadership every day. We're hearing about the need to not only use external influencers, but to use internal influencers, our executives, our employees, to sort of drive the who is actually talking about our brand. And it's such an important thing. And then you sort of go, all right, well, what do we do to basically bolster that? I don't know. One idea might be to actually train and develop the talent of your organization and the humans in it to actually so that they know a little bit about the business, right? Sort of actually, when we think of training and talent development, so often our brains go to, let's teach them how to use Salesforce. Let's teach them how to use, because, so they become Salesforce whisperers or, HubSpot magicians or, gurus of, GA4, right? And instead it's like, no. Why don't we teach them to be experts in our industry? Why don't we teach them and talent develop them so that they're actually storytellers or so that they're actually pulling in they become great researchers or thought leaders, and so that they can actually talk with authority about our business out there in the world and invest in our employees knowing more about that. And that to me is sort of the driving factor here, because, and I'm actually writing about this right now for my next rose-colored glasses column, which is the fast track of leadership these days, the tenure of CMOs, along with the newest, sort of what's being called job hugging these days of the practitioners in the business. It sort of lends itself to this idea of let's invest in our employees and make them know more about our business. Because most marketers, honestly, these days, especially in B2B, they don't know much about the industry. They're new, they're young, they're matriculating quickly between companies. And so investing in the knowledge and the influence they could have is such an important piece of this. And it's such a huge opportunity.
Goes back to that budget, investing in the talent.
Yeah. Shocker.
We have, so I don't even know how many we touched on. We had like 9, I think I said, takeaways. We did not touch on all of them here, but if you head over to contentmarketinginstitute.com, you can see Robert wrote very lengthy reports. It's great. Making that easy to read. It was enjoyable. I will say that. So head on over there, check it out. Lots of good nuggets, lots of good insight in there that we hope will help all of you. And Robert, I mean, you do it all around here. So you've also been really busy getting ready with our updated curriculum for Content Marketing University. So can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the updated curriculum?
Sure. This is our second year to do this in partnership with the American Marketing Association. And so there is a certification that is also available to those who actually go through the university and go through and suffer through all 15 hours of me, which is, trust me, not easy. That itself delivers its own certificate, by the way. But the key is that we're really excited about this partnership because of the certification in content marketing that you can pull out of it, which is great for your career, et cetera. And the updated curriculum is really about focusing in on the changes, right? The changes that we've seen across certainly AI, the changes that we've seen in first party data, the changes that we've seen in paid media, the media distribution mix, zero click marketing, and all those kinds of things. So the topics themselves remain relatively, the backbone of the course remains relatively similar, but the difference is like, how are we actually approaching content and marketing in a way that actually drives results for the business? And so that backbone remains the same. It's the backbone we've had for many years, but the actual application of it is so different these days because of all of the disruptions that we've seen, with AI search engine optimization and AI content generation, as well as measurement, distribution, social media. All of that is different this year, and I'm super excited for it.
Awesome.
Great.
And you did mention about the partnership with the AMA. Let's you want to just touch on that one last time?
Yeah, sure. It's been something, like I said, it's our second year to do this.
Yeah.
In partnership. Last year was our first year of the program. And so this is an update to that. And the key is that in previous years, before we partnered with the AMA, much of our stuff was really formulated around the Content Marketing Institute, the backbone that we've been working on for 16 years, right? As we've been, doing so many things, really centered on the practice of content marketing. And what we were able to bring in with the AMA piece of it was a broader sense of the world of marketing, like full stop, like, developing a market research and an audience, development and all of the things that sort of focus in on broader marketing skills that sort of feed in through that. Because as we've seen, content marketing has in many ways become B2B marketing, right? It has become the core focus of it. So the partnership with the AMA makes perfect sense. And it's now even a broader and better class because of it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So if you are interested in checking that out, head over to contentmarketinguniversity.com and you can check it out and enroll today and get Robert's, what'd you say, 15 hours of Robert,
Yeah.
one and only, as well as your very important AMA certification. So it's really a great program. So I highly recommend you go check it out over there. And then Robert, one last thing, because you were in between all of these things, you were also writing a book, I believe.
You're so sweet. You're so very nice. Thank you for that. Yes. It really touches on you. I mean, you probably heard the passion in my voice in the beginning of this when we talked about the human aspects of this. And it was in a book that I was inspired to write last year. So I spent the better part of the first part of this year writing the book. It's a small book, so it's easy. It's an easy read, one you can read on a plane ride or a couple of Sundays or something like that. And it's called Valuable Friction. And it's really basically what I've noticed is over the last 15 years, we have become obsessed as businesses, as families, as individuals on speed. Speed is the foundational part. And the question I kept wrestling with in my head was, how fast is fast enough? Like, how fast do we have to go before we've reached peak speed? And I think my hypothesis is we've reached it. And so the interesting thing to me is where I see value getting created these days is where we're introducing the friction, and not necessarily in slowing down, but the difference between speeds. In other words, the pivot. The metaphor I often use is it's the squeak of the shoe on the basketball court to let you know that a great game is being played. That's the friction that we start to introduce in our relationships, in our strategy, in our creative, and basically in all the things that we're doing as a business, as a family, as an individual, to create more value in our life. And so it's a bit of a treatise of that. It's, sort of a bit of a meditation, if you will. So I'm super excited about it. And thank you for mentioning it.
And you can get
and
that.
You can get it at valuablefriction.com.
Valuablefriction.com. We'll put that in a link in the comments for that as well. Well, Robert, thank you so much for taking the time today to spend with us and chat about all these things. As always, we appreciate it. So
absolutely my pleasure. Pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Until next time, we will see you, sir.
Bye. Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Bye. Yeah.
Awesome, as always.
Always.
Lots of great comments in the chat as well.
Very lively chat today.
Very lively chat. So continuing on here, since this is our first episode back since Content Marketing World in San Diego, and if you didn't attend, boy, did they miss out, right, JK?
Oh, that's right. we had a blast this year. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the conference. I think you have something to show us.
Yep.
What I love about Content Marketing World is the community. Every single person here shows up at this conference with a base understanding of what makes content great.
I think that there are very few conferences that have the depth or the level of content.
Having the hot seat where people came up and shared their questions, their concerns, their uncertainties, to have that opportunity, having the safe space to hear from others was a beautiful thing.
I feel like I've gotten a lot of value of actionable things that I can take back to my team.
What I love most about Content Marketing World is honestly, it always feels like homecoming. To visit with colleagues that you've watched grow from intern to CMO and have real community.
I feel so excited to be here. Like, everybody is so kind and approachable, and it just feels really welcoming. Kind of just feels like a warm hug.
Marketing is getting to the heart and soul of a product, of a business, but getting to the core of the human experience and connecting with one another.
The most valuable thing is talking with the speakers and the attendees. It takes a certain kind of person, and it tends to be marketers that are real and tactical and on the ground. It's the place to figure out how to fix that thing that's going to be on your desk Monday morning. The vibe of Content Marketing World is like no other business conference I have been part of. It is high energy, authentic, real, fun.
I have been so happy just to be surrounded by the Content Marketing World family again.
What's one word to describe Content Marketing World? Innovative.
Reunion.
Energetic.
Orange.
So yeah, we'll be in Denver next year. So a new city. We're very excited about that. And if you missed all the fun, we hope you will join us next year, but you can get all the great learnings. Still, we have our digital passes are on sale now. If you use Live 100, you can save an extra $100 off of your pass. So head over to contentmarketingworld.com and go ahead and buy your digital pass today. And then hopefully you will mark it down on your calendar and you will join us next year, right, JK?
That's right. If you didn't come this year, you missed out, and we don't want to have you miss out again. We had a blast this year. I mean, every year, Amanda, you and I have been to pretty much every one of these, and we always say it was the best year yet. It was the best year yet. But this year, I just felt like there was such a wonderful sense of community. Everybody was so actively engaged, and everybody had a blast. And
we just want to share something fun with we have the dogs. And
yeah.
I just want to mention we had the Amazing Strays Rescue comes into, I think it was the
Binder booth.
Binder booth.
Our friends from Binder.
Yes, our friends from Binder had the Puppy Love Lounge, and we had 2 of those dogs were adopted. Isn't that so cute?
Oh my gosh. And I was actually there. You see Mocha there. I was actually there when her owner came and picked her up to take her home, and it was so heartwarming. Everybody was like getting misty. I mean, it was just wonderful to see the love. And I talked to the young lady, and she's like, was from West Monroe, Louisiana, so she traveled all the way from San Diego and came to our conference and came back with a lovely pet. So
she had him or her around. She was carrying around the around the rest of the conference because she had a puppy, and then she had her little kids and had the dog with her. So it was sweet.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody in the chat, but I think Penny went to Penny's owner is from the Boston area. So they traveled across the United States. It was just fantastic. And to see that happen and all the love and fun that folks had. And thank you again, Binder, for doing that with Amazing Strays, because it was such a heartwarming thing. And
fun.
just
Lots
so
of
much
fun.
fun.
Yep. So that's all we have for today. We covered a lot today in today's episode. So we will be back again next month with another episode of Live with CMI. And until then, we hope you all have a great week. And I will see you soon. See you, JK.
Take care.